My marriage lasted 12 years. It ended because of one person I never suspected. He stopped choosing me. She stepped into my place. This story changed my life forever. My name is Emily, and for 12 years I believed marriage survived on patience. I believed that if you stayed loyal, if you kept choosing your partner even on the dull days, love would protect itself. I was wrong. Love doesn't protect itself. People do. And sometimes they stop. I married Mark when we were both young and convinced that trust was automatic once vows were spoken. Mark was calm, dependable, admired by everyone. Our life wasn't exciting, but it felt secure. We had routines, quiet dinners, shared jokes, and a home that felt settled. I thought stability meant safety. I didn't realize it could also hide emotional distance. Everything began to change the year my younger sister Lauren came to live with us. Lauren had just ended a painful engagement. She was heartbroken, unsure of herself, and needed somewhere to recover. Mark immediately told her she could stay as long as she needed. He was gentle, supportive, patient. I trusted him completely. That trust would cost me my marriage. At first, things felt normal. Lauren was quiet, grateful, withdrawn. I focused on work and assumed time would help her heal. But slowly, the house felt different. Conversation stopped when I entered the room. Mark stayed up later than usual. Lauren laughed more around him. They shared moments I wasn't part of. I noticed things but dismissed them, telling myself I was imagining problems where none existed. The moment my denial cracked came one evening when I arrived home early. I heard voices in the living room, soft and close. When I stepped closer, I saw Mark sitting across from Lauren, leaning forward, listening with an intensity I hadn't received in months. His expression wasn't friendly, it was intimate. Nothing physical happened, but something undeniable was already there. I felt it immediately. Emotional betrayal doesn't need touch to exist. From that day on, I felt like a stranger in my own home. Mark became distant with me and increasingly attentive toward Lauren. Lauren began changing in subtle ways. She dressed with more confidence. She seemed lighter, more alive. She knew Mark's moods before I did. I started losing sleep, replaying small moments, questioning myself, wondering when I had become invisible. Eventually, I did something I never thought I would do. I looked through Mark's phone. There were no explicit messages, no plans, no confessions. What I found was worse. Long conversations filled with emotional dependency. Late-night texts about fears, dreams, regrets. Words that belonged inside a marriage, not outside it. Not with my sister. When I confronted Mark, he didn't deny anything. He didn't yell or defend himself. He looked tired, almost relieved. He said it wasn't intentional. He said it grew slowly. He said Lauren understood him in ways he felt I no longer did. Then he said the sentence that ended everything. I think I'm in love with her. I felt my body go numb. I asked if anything physical had happened. He said no. I asked if he wanted it to. He hesitated. That hesitation answered everything. Lauren collapsed in tears when I confronted her. She apologized repeatedly, said she never meant to hurt me, said she was broken and Mark made her feel safe again. She said she didn't plan for this. But no one accidentally replaces a wife. That happens through repeated choices. I gave Mark a choice. Cut all emotional contact with her, or I would leave. He asked for time. That was when I knew my marriage was already over. You don't need time to choose someone you truly love. Lauren moved out soon after, but the damage stayed. Mark was distant, distracted, emotionally absent. Even when he was physically present, he wasn't mine anymore. I realized something painful then. Even if he stayed, I would always be second. The divorce happened quietly, no screaming, no drama, just paperwork and the slow erasing of a shared life. Mark said he didn't want to live dishonestly. I appreciated the honesty, even though it came too late. After the divorce, I moved into a small apartment and learned how to exist alone again. The silence was unbearable at first. Then it became peaceful. I rebuilt my routines, my confidence, my sense of self. Pain didn't vanish, but it softened. It stopped defining me. Months later, Mark contacted me. He said things didn't turn out the way he expected. He said guilt followed him everywhere. He said he missed what we had. I listened calmly, then told him the truth I had learned. Love isn't about emotion. It's about loyalty. And loyalty is proven when temptation appears, not after it destroys everything. I wished him well and ended the call. I don't tell this story as a woman who was replaced. I tell it as a woman who learned that commitment is a choice made daily. I didn't lose my husband to another woman. I lost him the moment he stopped choosing me. And in losing him, I found myself. After I hung up the call, I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, realizing something unexpected. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. The silence that filled the room didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt earned. That was the moment I understood that healing doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives quietly, when the person who once had power over your emotions suddenly doesn't. In the weeks that followed, I began noticing changes in myself. Small ones at first. I stopped checking my phone late at night. I stopped wondering what Mark was doing, who he was with, or whether he regretted his choices. For the first time in years, my thoughts belonged entirely to me. I realized how much of my life I had spent shrinking, adjusting, making space for someone who was slowly stepping out of my place. People often ask why betrayal hurts so much. It's not just the loss of a relationship, it's the loss of the future you were building in your mind. I had imagined growing old with Mark, shared holidays, quiet mornings, a life that now existed only in memory. Letting go of that future felt like grieving a version of myself that would never exist again. I ran into Lauren once months later at a grocery store. We locked eyes for a brief moment. She looked uncomfortable, uncertain, like someone carrying a weight she couldn't set down. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just distance. That's when I knew I had truly moved on. Forgiveness isn't about reconciliation. Sometimes it's about emotional detachment. That night, I wrote something in my journal that I still keep with me. I wrote that love without respect is just attachment. That loyalty is not proven when everything is easy, but when temptation appears and you choose your partner anyway. Mark didn't choose me, and that choice no longer defined my worth. I began rebuilding my life intentionally. New routines, new boundaries, new standards. I learned to enjoy my own company, to trust my instincts again, to believe that peace was not something I had to earn through suffering. Slowly, the idea of love stopped feeling dangerous. It started feeling possible again, but only on my terms. What I lost was a marriage. What I gained was clarity. I gained my voice, my confidence, my sense of self. I no longer measured my value by whether someone stayed. I measured it by whether I stayed true to myself. This story isn't about revenge. It isn't about blame. It's about understanding that sometimes the most painful endings are necessary beginnings. I didn't walk away broken. I walked away awake. And that awakening changed everything.